It's time for Saint Lucia Magazine, your monthly wrap-up.
Hello and welcome to Saint Lucia Magazine, our monthly segment reviewing developments in government across various sectors of healthcare, education, the economy, infrastructure, and agriculture. I am Nivalo Geist. In this recap of June, we look at what the government has done to bring about positive change and progress for the citizens. Our team and the communications units of the various ministries in the public service have been gathering stories and highlights of the government's initiatives and projects, and we are excited to share them with you. This is St. Lucia Magazine. At the top of this review segment, the big story. Phase 1 of St. Lucia's Ministry of Health's Universal Health Coverage Initiative has been implemented as it aims to focus on reducing the expenses for maternal care. In what officials have described as a progressive maternal health development, the Government of Saint Lucia has embarked on universal health coverage, opening up access to pregnant women to receive key services at no cost from primary health institutions. Family nurse practitioner Yolanda Alcindor says this is an important step in prioritizing maternal and child health in the country.
The Maternal and Child Health Program within the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs offers a range of health services throughout a network of community wellness centers. These essential health services include care during pregnancy, delivery, and postnatal, ensuring that every family has access to reproductive health services, vaccination, specialty clinics, mental health services, and nutritional counseling. Also referring families, mothers, and infants in a timely manner to the obstetrician and pediatric care. Promoting quality maternal and health services to the public, and this is important to contribute to health and wellness, reducing poor outcomes for mothers and children.
Head of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at OKEUH, Dr. Lucilla Charles, says the complexities of pregnancy is always a challenge, and a mechanism which allows pregnant women to access the basket of services needed with zero cost for some of the services which affords better care, not just those who have the money, but also for those struggling financially.
9 months may sound like a long time, but when you have multiple tests to do, it's a lot. And I think quite a fair amount of women, number of women, can actually afford a test. But there are also a wide segment of the population who are not able. And when they hear that there must be a blood count, and then in addition to the blood count, we need to know the blood group, and we need to know that whether you have sickle cell traits, because we have a lot of persons walking around who seem all right, but the trait exists, not just in the mother, but potentially in the father. And it can mean that your baby may be born with full-blown sickle cell disease, which can be quite an impactful process. So there are ultrasounds to be done, and you heard not one, not two, sometimes multiple, especially when we are dealing with high-risk patients who may require an ultrasound every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks. So it can amount to a lot of money. And so because it takes so much money, some pregnant ladies do not do the test. Sometimes they don't even go for the free health care.
Dr. Charles encouraged women to take advantage of the free maternal care being offered for improved outcomes.
We are encouraging persons to go to the health center, and in addition to that, doing your test. And for those who are unable to afford, guess what? It's for free. From the moment that patient walks in, we look and we can tell things. We are taught to listen to what she says and what she does not say. And then we are taught to examine. But then, of course, we cannot see certain things. We cannot see inside the uterus. We cannot tell that the baby is too big or too small, or that the fluid might be too little or too much, or that the placenta is lying in the way of the baby and can be associated with massive bleeding. These things are sought out through ultrasounds. This is where we get that information. And when a patient is not able to do her ultrasound and comes to us at 3 o'clock in the morning, it happens, 3 o'clock in the morning, bleeding, and we don't know yet that her placenta is in the way, called a placenta previa, we are looking at sheer madness sometimes.
While maternal and child health services are available at all wellness centers island-wide, laboratory services are at 17 of those facilities in various districts across the island. Dr. Charles has urged both men and women to exercise good judgment about their fertility.
You know, in as much as this sounds great and it's for free, let us be responsible. So to all our men and women of childbearing age, what we call reproductive age, be conscious, be aware, make good decisions so that you can care for yourself and your families beyond the ultrasound and the free blood test. Make conscious decisions, make good decisions so you can rear your child in a good and healthy society.
The free maternal health care program will be followed by other health initiatives as universal health coverage expands to include other target groups. The Golden 80 Plus Health Package is another of the initiatives that caters to the subgroup of adults aged 80 and over. It will provide prescription drugs, one annual hearing test at wellness centers, as well as eye screening and surgery at the Cuban Eye Clinic at no cost. The Golden 80 Plus Health Package starts on July 1st, 2023. In another of our big stories, Victoria Hospital will be transformed into an urban polyclinic to improve the delivery of healthcare to St. Lucians. Virgil Leonti reports.
The repurposing of Victoria Hospital into an urban polyclinic will impact the nation's health sector to offer more efficient health care. Victoria Hospital was converted into a respiratory hospital in March of 2020 with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic. With the reduced threat from COVID, a cabinet decision was taken for the transition of VH into a multi-purpose urban polyclinic. Health Minister Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste has been sharing details about the transformation.
Cabinet, by conclusion 1/10 of 2023, directed that the Victoria Hospital or the respiratory hospital be repurposed, and it should include the following. That 1, the respiratory hospital will be a multi-purpose medical facility comprising primary health services, urgent health care, and a secondary health care facility. The facility will be developed and operate under the theme, 1 patient, 3 services. That the administrative section, former accident and emergency department, the Francis Dolto building, and the area allocated to the Cuban Eye Clinic of the respiratory hospital are designated to be designed and operated as the Castries Urban Polyclinic.
Immediately, there will be a phased transfer of some of the operations of the Castries Wellness Center to the polyclinic. New operating hours will allow for patient care on weekends and holidays. This move is expected to ease the pressure of attending to non-emergency cases at the OKEU hospital. This could result in long waiting periods being reduced by hours. To allow for a smooth continuation of the delivery of health services, Minister Jean-Baptiste outlined a new relationship between the Ministry of Health and the 2 main health institutions, the Urban Polyclinic and the Millennium Heights Medical Complex.
The remaining sections of the respiratory hospital are to be managed by the Millennium Heights Medical Complex under the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Secondary Care Wing. 7. The Millennium Heights Medical Complex Secondary Care Wing and the Castries Urban Polyclinic will include an infectious disease unit and a convalescent care unit. 8. To allow for the establishment of service level agreements between the Millennium Heights Medical Complex and the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs and the Castries Urban Polyclinic. 9. To implement a collaborative joint communication strategy for public education between the Ministry of Health and the Millennium Heights Medical Complex.
In speaking on the necessity of an urban polyclinic, the Chief Medical Officer, Sharon Belmar George, noted the pressure on the current Castries Wellness Center. According to her, its limited structure cannot support the health needs of a growing urban population. She also outlined the expansion of services which will be available at the polyclinic.
Some of the services which will be available at the Castries Urban Polyclinic will include antenatal and postnatal clinics, child health clinics, family planning clinics, cancer screening, counseling for voluntary counseling and testing, home visits, hypertensive and diabetic clinics. In addition to the basic package of services, the Castries Urban Polyclinic will provide the emergency urgent care service, as indicated earlier, up to midnight every day, minor surgical procedures, daily medical clinics from 8 to midnight, diagnostic services to include radiology, ultrasound, and laboratory, maternal child health, adolescent health, men's health, advanced screening for communicable and non-communicable diseases, physical activity and rehabilitation, reproductive health clinics, pharmacy services, eye health services, including diabetic retinopathy and laser treatment, which is presently at the Babano Wellness Center. This will be transferred to a more central location. Hearing health services, specialist clinics from visiting consultants and also in consultation with the Millennium Heights Medical Complex, daily dental services, nutrition services, mental health services, counseling services.
The creation of the multipurpose medical facility has been hailed as exciting by the Chief Executive Officer of the Millennium Heights Medical Complex, Dr. Dexter James. James says for the first time, more stable patients will be moved from OKEU to the polyclinic, and patients can be admitted in one of 3 ways.
Firstly, the low acuity and very stable patients will be transferred from OKU hospital to the secondary care hospital. Secondly, in the unlikely event that a patient presents to the urgent center and require admission, under very strict protocol, those patients could be admitted directly to the secondary care hospital or to the OKU hospital. So in short, we will put those protocols in place to make sure that patients move, as I mentioned earlier on, seamlessly across the continuum of care.
Dr. James says while the opening up of the facility will not eliminate the bed shortage, it will increase the current bed capacity. The urban polyclinic will also boast 2 operating rooms and 2 intensive care units. Private surgeons will have access to the operating rooms at the facility. A policy to share some services like laboratory tests between private and public healthcare providers will keep costs at a minimum for patients. Health officials are optimistic that proposed changes will strengthen health services and create greater customer satisfaction. From the Government Information Service, Virgil Leonti reporting.
You're watching St. Lucia Magazine on the National Television Network. Stay with us. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development is placing heavy emphasis on the concept of food security. It's our prosperity, our future. The Farmer Incentives Program of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development is aimed at reducing the cost of production and promoting food security and accessibility. All farmers, fishers, and agro-processors who've registered and own a farmer's registration card qualify. These incentives include the percentage reduction of excise tax and import duties for agricultural and fisheries production inputs which are imported. These include approved agricultural products for an approved agricultural project, for example, vehicles, fishing vessels, animals, animal feed, planting materials, and other farm inputs. Farmers can apply by completing the application form and submitting with all relevant documents attached. For further information, contact the Deputy Director of Agricultural Services at 468-4125. The first named system of the Atlantic hurricane season arrived early. Tropical Storm Brett had St. Lucia on heightened alert. Minister for Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technical and Vocational Training, Honorable Sean Edward, convened the first pre-strike meeting following the announcement of a tropical storm watch for the island.
The Ministry of Health, they gave a pretty good account of themselves in terms of their state of readiness to deal with the nation, deal with the populace in the event that this weather system were to impact St. Lucia later this week. I think people should pay attention to the weather report. People should pay close attention to anything that is coming out of the office of the chief, the Director of Meteorological Services, and generally the Ministry of Infrastructure. I want to encourage people to rely on authentic sources for information. I know there's a tendency when disaster looms or when a system is approaching us for people to basically feed from sources that are not always credible. So listen to bulletins and advisories that come from central government, that come from NEMO. You should not entertain rumors. This is as basic as it gets when we speak about people receiving information that could inform decision making at the family level, at the community level.
St. Lucia was spared the brunt of Tropical Storm Brett, and as such, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre gave the all-clear the Friday morning following the passage of the storm.
I'm pleased to announce that after discussions with NEMO and all parties, the all-clear has been given for the resumption of normal activity.
St. Lucia hosted the 53rd Annual General Meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, with a series of high-level engagements, including a forum on women in business, youth development, and innovation. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre was the chairperson of the 53rd Annual General Meeting. We have a report from Rihanni Isidore.
1 year ago, on accepting the chairmanship of the bank, I committed to promote, among other things, 2 issues of regional importance: social and economic empowerment of youth and access to adequate and affordable financing for development, which has been a priority for the bank over the last few years. I have always focused on finding solutions to the chronic social and economic challenges facing the people of the country, the people of the region, particularly the youth. It was evident from research data that the unemployment rate for persons between 15 and 24 in the region was generally 3 times that of adult unemployment, and the region's youth were bearing a disproportionate share of the burden of poverty, marginalization, and exclusion from the developmental process.
Equally concerning is the global trend towards fragmentation into distinct economic blocs with different ideologies, political systems, technology standards, cross-border payment systems, and reserve currencies. This potentially exposes the region to additional risks, as fractures in the flow of capital, goods, services, and technology across borders could add to inflationary pressures, eliminate jobs, and deprive people of food, medicine, and other essentials. In other words, fragmentation could result in another supply-side shock, leading to sharper increases in prices and less output. These difficult circumstances have increased the development challenges in the region. To better address the challenges of BMCs, CDB recognized that it must reimagine its approach to development.
This is St. Lucia Magazine. When we come back, RSS supports St. Lucia in strengthening security and support for agriculture.
Breast milk is the gold standard that cannot be emulated. It is the perfect food for your baby.
Breast milk provides antibodies and protective factors which may fight against COVID-19 should your baby be exposed.
Breastfeeding reduces the risk for premenopausal, breast and ovarian cancers.
Breastfeeding is the most natural way to feed your baby. Breast milk provides all the nutrients your baby needs for the first 6 months of life. It requires patience. However, your baby deserves the best and it's worth the effort.
Breastfeeding a baby up to 12 months improves jawbone development, thereby reducing misalignment of the teeth.
Breast milk is baby's first immunization. It protects against viruses, bacteria, and also prevents some chronic diseases.
If your child becomes sick with any illness, including COVID-19, it is very important that you continue breastfeeding.
A woman with COVID-19 should be supported to breastfeed her baby safely, hold her newborn skin to skin, and share a room with her baby.
After giving your baby only breast milk for the first 6 months of life, you can now slowly start introducing solid foods at the right textures. These include pureed vegetables, fruits, peas, and healthy cereals.
For more information, call the Nutrition Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness at 468-5359.
The Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, has welcomed support for the Distress Fund. A $1 million contribution from the Government of Taiwan will fund projects under the reinstated Distress Fund. Riani Isidore reports.
The Distress Fund has received a $1 million cash injection from the government and people of Taiwan.
As we all live in a world seriously affected by climate change, natural disasters, and global economic turbulence, Distress Support Fund is much more needed and critical than ever before.
Taiwan remains a strategic development partner to St. Lucia. Taiwan continues to support government policy initiatives that better the lives and livelihoods of St. Lucian citizens. Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre continues to prioritize the realities of St. Lucia's most vulnerable members of society. With the support of his cabinet of ministers, the Prime Minister reinstated the Distress Fund to ensure vulnerable households receive access to vital resources in their times of need.
The check from Taiwan for the Distress Fund is to give social support to people who need it. We're interested in social support. We're interested in helping people to graduate out of poverty, as the Minister of Equity will tell you. And we're also interested in the health of the people of St. Lucia. And this is why the government is pursuing universal health care with alacrity, trying to see if we could get the people of St. Lucia their health taken care of. So our policies are multifaceted. We are helping people. At the same time, we are augmenting our support to the people of St. Lucia, to the people who are less fortunate.
In addition to restoring the Distress Fund, the Prime Minister has increased its allocation to $1 million. From the Office of the Prime Minister, Riani Isidore.
St. Lucia will participate in a Regional Security System RSS Unity exercise UNEX to implement new initiatives designed to strengthen law enforcement and border security in St. Lucia and the Caribbean. Miguel Morissette reports.
On Monday, June 19th, St. Lucia held the official launch of the Regional Security System Unity exercise, UNEX, at the Ministry of Infrastructure in Union. UNEX is being implemented under the RSS 11th European Development Fund project in collaboration with the European Union and the Saint Lucia government. According to the staff officer of exercises at the Regional Security System Training Institute in Barbados, Lieutenant Colonel Roberto Beltran, UNEX aims at improving mechanisms for regional cooperation within the Regional Security System RSS in response to security issues such as drug trafficking, terrorism, and other threats to border security.
The exercise entails mainly countering transnational organized crime and countering terrorism. So the aim of the exercise is to strengthen the regional security system's capability to counter those threats in the region. So it's not only bilateral, but it's for the entire sub-region of the regional security system, where all 8 member states will be able to come together with all the services, security forces, police forces, defense forces, come together to be able to learn how to operate together.
He went on to explain what warranted such an activity.
The world is an ever-changing world, and we have to be prepared for any such situation. As you can see across the globe, there is an increase in drug trafficking, weapons trafficking. So we as a region, as a sub-region, a regional security system, we must be prepared for these eventualities. So an exercise such as this is an excellent way for us to train to be able to execute properly.
Meanwhile, Minister for Public Service, Home Affairs, Labour and Gender Affairs, Honorable Dr. Virginia Albert Poyot said the exercise could not have come at a more opportune time.
The support of the RSS, as you know, a few months ago, did have a very great impact in curbing the violent incidents we had, especially in the Vieux-Fort areas. However, they have not actually left the country. They are still around, not maybe in the full force, because our law enforcement officers have stepped up to the plate. So I look forward to greater intervention and support as we move on, not just physical presence, sometimes in the technical area, and giving advice on how we handle intelligence and other areas of national security.
The minister added that the backing of the RSS is still very much an active process regarding the curbing of crime in Saint Lucia.
This is a very timely intervention in that we have actually heard and seen the scourge of and the upsurge in crime, not just in Saint Lucia but regionally. And this is a time that we have to step up to the plate. And as a result, Saint Lucia welcomes this opportunity to launch this exercise with the RSS. And we are hoping that our law enforcement officers will benefit tremendously from this exercise. And we hope that this is one of the steps that the Saint Lucia government is taking to address the issue of national security.
Saint Lucia will host the next Regional Security System Unity exercise from April 3rd to 14th, 2024. From the Government Information Service, Miguel Morissette reporting.
The Taiwan Technical Mission and the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development have collaborated to provide training for over 70 farmers in efficient production methods and sustainable farming techniques, heralding a promising and transformative future in the agricultural sector. Anicia Antoine reports.
In a significant milestone for agricultural development, a graduation ceremony was held to commemorate the completion of a good agricultural practices training for over 70 participants of Regions 4 and 5. The training held as part of the second phase of the enhancement of the efficiency of the production distribution supply chain in the fruits and vegetable sector project, more commonly known as the 7 Crops Project, highlighted the collaboration of the Taiwan Technical Mission and the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security, and Rural Development. Soil management, pest control, irrigation techniques, post-harvest handling, and market strategies were among the topics covered in the training program, as participants gained valuable insights into efficient production methods and sustainable farming techniques that ensure consumers receive high-quality fruits and vegetables. Ambassador of the Republic of China Taiwan to Saint Lucia, His Excellency Peter Chai Chen, commended the participants for their remarkable achievements and emphasized the importance of the bilateral collaboration between Taiwan and Saint Lucia in promoting agricultural development.
I would also like to express my appreciation to the Ministry of Agriculture and Taiwan Technical Mission for their hard work on organizing the workshop. Let's give them a big round of applause. The government of Taiwan will continue to work with the government of Saint Lucia to promote local purchase, diversified, and increase the domestic production, which comprise the goals of our project as part of the effort to promote food security.
Agriculture Minister Honorable Alfred Prosper stated that the joint initiative between the Taiwan Technical Mission and the Agriculture Ministry plays a critical role in improving agricultural practices in our country. According to Minister Prosper, the knowledge gained through the training program will increase productivity, improve product quality, and ultimately lead to better livelihoods for farmers.
This training is in keeping with the new thrust of the ministry. That is the overarching goal of ensuring both food security and nutrition. Therefore, your added collective contributions are essential for improving the food security status of our nation. We rely on our farmers to perform that critical role of wholesome food production. The ministry's mandate, in light of current world affairs, is of high priority, since several factors such as inflation, the corresponding supply chain disruptions, and escalating prices of inputs all have driven up the cost of food and general living expenses.
The completion of the training program, marked by an atmosphere of celebration and the presentation of certificates, sets the stage for a promising future in agriculture, strengthening the ministry's steadfast dedication to fostering a resilient and sustainable industry of growth and innovation. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
When we come back, St. Lucia's sporting facilities are soon to be transitioned to solar energy, and a table tennis festival with a difference.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Good morning. Nice tie, Bill. Yeah, thanks. How was your weekend? Same thing. I went to the beach, but to tell you the truth, I should have just stay home and sleep. I just feel like I need help with my future goals, but I just don't know where to start. I love my job, but I'm not as productive as I used to be. Maybe I should speak to a counselor. What should I do? But it's so expensive.
It's not my business, you know. But look, he's not even listening to you. You work with the Government of Saint Lucia, and the Ministry of the Public Service is offering free counseling to government workers under the Employee Assistance Program. Call them.
Really? The ministry is offering free counseling services for government workers?
Yes, it's easy as calling the unit. The EAP telephone number 468-2269. Call them.
If you have to pour out your heart, talk with a caring professional who is trained to listen to your deepest feelings. Call the EAP unit at 468-2269. EAP works, let it work for you.
Hey, Joe, you were saying something?
Prime Minister and Minister for National Security, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, has mapped out the construction of custody suites in the city of Castries, designed to secure and keep safe individuals in police custody. Rihani Isidore reports.
Prime Minister and Minister for National Security, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, has laid the groundwork to construct a new detention facility where custody suites once stood.
The custody suites, you know, we speak about crime. We're very concerned about crime. But one of the basic problems is when you arrest people, you must get somewhere to put them. The last government destroyed the custody suites, and no one has accounted for it. Why would you destroy a holding cell, a holding place for people who are arrested?
In 2020, the buildings which housed custody suites and the Central Police Station situated on Bridge Street, Castries, were completely demolished. The demolition pitted the government in a legal dispute with the Saint Lucia National Trust. The trust sought injunctive relief in the court to halt the destruction of the custody suites buildings. The trust unsuccessfully attempted to save what was one of the oldest buildings in Castries. The British constructed the Royal Jail, also known as Her Majesty's Prison, in the 1820s in St. Lucia. Before the demolition of custody suites in 2020, these historic buildings endured for over a century in St. Lucia's capital. The police have been adversely affected by the destruction of custody suites. Logistical challenges persist.
We started working it, and hopefully we should get the custody suites in the next 9 months, which should help the police as far as being able to detain people when they're arrested. Because right now, if you arrest somebody in Castries and you have to bring him to Marigot, Ancillary, Dennery, as far as suffrage, hold him. Or just release him. You understand? And these are the short-sighted things that happened, and we're paying for it.
Respite for the trust came via a court settlement with the government and a statement by the Office of the Attorney General on April 21st, 2023. Quote, "The government admits that the demolition contravened the clear terms of the written undertaking. The government unreservedly acknowledges to the trust its breach of the specific provisions of the written undertaking that mandated it to hold further consultations prior to the demolition of the historic Royal Jail." End quote. Meanwhile, a reprieve for the police is on the horizon. Prime Minister Pierre has given assurances the construction of a new detention facility to safely and securely hold detainees will be complete by the end of 2023. From the Office of the Prime Minister, Rihani Isidore.
The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports has designated 14 facilities for the transition to solar energy in order to reduce electricity at sporting venues. We now take in the highlights.
14 facilities on island have already been earmarked for the transition to solar energy, as the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports seeks to reduce on the cost of electricity at sporting venues that present the opportunity to do so within the coming months. Minister responsible for Youth Development and Sports, the Honorable Kenson Casimir, is confident the move will bring about tremendous savings in the long run.
We've earmarked 14 facilities around the island this year to actually benefit from the transition, because it will be a transitioning period where we first get LED lights and then the solar panels and the batteries. The goal is to have all facilities within the next 15 years to be to use renewable sources of energy. Of course, when we came in, we saw some of the exorbitant bills at, for instance, a Grosley playing field of $180,000, Darren Sammy $500,000 in terms of the electricity bills and that sort of thing. And so we decided that we needed to do something futuristic, something that the next generation will not have to spend so much money on. And so it's quite costly. We discovered in terms of the initial cost, it's quite substantial, but you recover that cost over a 5 to 10 year period, and thereafter you pretty much have to change the batteries over every 20 to 25 years. So the benefits are absolutely tremendous for St. Lucia as we move forward.
Minister Casimir emphasized that government will not only be tapping the resources of the sun, but will also be exploring the possible use of wind energy and water conservation at these venues.
Coles and Associates from Canada, they are putting a proposal together to see how it is that they can fund some of the activities, perhaps a PPP, public-private partnership, where they can fund the activities in terms of the transition to solar energy, especially at the Darren Sammy, the Soufrière Mini Stadium, and the Mindo Philip Park, and give us a whole proposal for how it is that we can use wind energy. We can have a system for water conservation and usage at those facilities, and move towards LED lights and total solar at those venues. The pilot project at Corinth, we've identified a contractor for the 14 other programs and projects. The areas that have a school next to the playing field, for instance, a Leclerc, they will benefit first and foremost because the roofs could be used immediately.
Upon completion of the transition, the country is projected to save millions on energy costs. From the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, I'm Ryan O'Brien.
A table tennis festival was held at Beausejour for students with special needs as the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports aims to include special education students in sporting activities. Ryan O'Brien tells us more.
Special education students who participate in the sport of table tennis got an opportunity to display their skills and compete with other players recently as the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports held a table tennis festival. Table tennis coach at the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, Chris Wells, is one of the pioneers of the development of the sport at special education institutions around the island.
Right now we have about 120 plus kids from around the island, mainly from the Soufre Special Ed School, we have from the Fuford Special Ed School, we have from the Denry Child Development Center, we are from Educare, we are from Donata, and we are from Lady Gordon. The next step for this activity will be next year, but we'll have a post-mortem to see what other activities we can include and how possible it is to have other activities with other sports where they can be included as well.
Wells also disclosed that before the festival, workshops were held and there was training for teachers and physical education teachers. Johnson James is the Director of Sports, Special Schools.
It means a great deal to me to have our students, as you know, it's special schools, and just to have them participate in sports just like every other child, it's a great pleasure, and for them, especially today, as they take part in the table tennis tournament and also some other table tennis activities. So it's a real honor, a pleasure to have our students to show that they're just as well, they can compete just as well as the other students in the regular schools.
Acting Director of Sports, Clivers Jules, says the festival is an activity that the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports will continue to promote.
We're very excited about the special ed table tennis and the work that's being done, because we have a special thrust to engage the special needs children because they are normally left out of sports programming, and we think this is an excellent opportunity to engage them, and we're happy to do so. And the table tennis, the drills and the competition provided a nice, fun way of engaging the children with special needs on a pretty level playing field. So we're excited about that, and we will continue to support that kind of initiative as the time goes on. This is the first for me of many, and I'm sure we will continue to grow the special needs, probably to have a big national special needs competition in the years to come.
The festival was held at the Beausejour Indoor Sporting Facility and drew a large number of eager participants. From the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, I'm Ryan O'Brien.
With this, we come to the end of St. Lucia Magazine, your monthly wrap-up. A huge thank you to all who contributed to the production of this program, the National Television Network, GIS team, and the communication officers of the various ministries. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us next month for another episode of St. Lucia Magazine on NTN Channel 122 and the social media pages of the Government of St. Lucia. Until next time, I am Nivalo Dees.
It's time for St. Lucia Magazine, your monthly wrap-up.